All right, thank you. This is the meeting of the Process Committee, the Charter Review Commission Process Committee on May 4th of 2021. We're starting at around 10:37 because of some problems of people not being able to get on, but here we are. And present on the committee, let's see, we have Kyle and myself, Bob O'Connell. We have Liz Lafferty and Patty Garcia, and we have Bill Apple, and we have Jane Fuller. And so that's the committee. And we also have several people who are here as members of the public. And you know the drill, I believe, folks. We go from 10:30 to 12 noon. At no later than 10 minutes to noon, we will stop activity and entertain comments from you all. Given the number of people that are here, I think we better make that quarter till 12, and you'll each have 3 minutes unless that gets used up and there's time to go back around. Okay. In the meantime, if you would remain muted with your videos off, that gives everybody who's on the commission a chance to see everybody who's on the commission talking, etc. But if there are no questions about that, we can proceed with the meeting. Okay, I've done the roll call, and I think we have everybody present on who's a member of the committee. Has everyone? Yes, Kyle.
I move we approve the minutes from last week's meeting.
Thank you for skipping right to that. That's is there a second? Looks like there is. Liz Lafferty seconds that. Is there any discussion regarding that? Any corrections needing to be made to the minutes, etc.? Seeing none, we'll just take a vote. All in favor, say aye and raise your hand. Aye. And or raise your hand. Okay, looks like that's pretty much unanimous. The first item on the agenda, after what we've already done, is a review of what the Climate and Environment Committee is up to. I am on that committee also. Anne Marie Shanks is the chairperson of that. I am on that committee also, as is Kyle and as are Kyle and Liz. So I hope that Kyle and Liz will jump in and add things to this, but really about the best thing that we can take a look at to understand what that committee is doing is the draft that just came out within the last 24 hours, I believe, from the chair of that, Anne Marie Shanks. And it is a like a 4 or 5 page draft of where they are on the Office of Climate and Environment and the Commissioner of Climate and Environment. That is what is happening. Okay, those things, the office and the new commissioner are the pretty much the sole concentration of C&E right now. It's really, really important stuff. There's a lot of good information in this draft. So do you have that, Kyle? Can you put that up?
I do.
Would you put it up on the screen?
There it is.
Oh, it's real tiny. I don't know about everybody else. I've got a copy of it right here, but you all probably don't. And so you're going to need that considerably larger to be able to read it. I would think.
Can you do it larger?
I think we do 1 page at a time, maybe.
There, I know you will.
Better chance of seeing it. Wow, very good. Well, that's, yeah, that's, yes, it is. What we have is the 1 page is in the left-hand column. And we got part of it, and we got part of the next page in the right-hand column. So is there a way to get 1 page at a time?
You look at it.
Oh, is that what we have now? Adaption by conserving, restoring, and protecting. Okay, okay. Do you all want to, I would like everybody to be familiar with this document because it really is going to enlighten what we do from this moment on, because this is going to pass, folks. It's not a done deal, but it is going to pass in that committee, that we are going to end up with a climate, at least we're going to end up with a proposal to the commission for a climate commissioner in a climate and environment department. Yes, Patty.
I was sort of reading this email before this started, and
Mhm.
the one was saying that they had fixed whatever it was that Emery sent and put nature in every time it said environment, and I believe that's what we're looking at. Because I
Does
see
it,
nature
do
every
you say,
if
well,
they plug
that
in
was,
nature instead of environment.
okay,
And
well, then this is the wrong thing,
yeah,
because that was a suggestion from Alexandra, and she rejected that.
right, that's what I saw.
So what this is it got in there somehow. Maybe Alexandra produced that, but you may have seen the
So Kyle's
email
looking for the
back
other
to
one.
back to Alexandra that said they were going to wait and see what we did, and that if we had rights of nature, if we passed that, they would go back and do that. But if we didn't, they weren't going to do that. Yes, Jane, and you're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question, a point of order question. I'm not
Sure.
clear on what a non-commissioner is doing, changing text in documents that are being produced by the committee. I'd appreciate a clarification on that. I'm not clear about that.
Yeah, I am mystified by it. Okay, so we could, yes, Patty.
It was, she was responding to it and she was sending her suggestions
Right.
to, yeah, I mean, she wasn't changing it, but she was.
In other
sending
words,
suggestions. It was
so-
just an email back.
so Patty, do you think we have the wrong document?
We
in
have
front
the
of us?
wrong document
And
up
we need to have the document.
from
We need to
Commander
have
Murray.
the chair's document rather than Alexander's document. So that was included in an email. Kyle, if you can find that, it was.
Well, sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, a further question of clarification on this point. So,
You bet.
because this is that committee sharing with the public working documents?
Apparently so.
Well,
You know,
She attended the meeting.
I've heard things both ways. You know, I've heard that those documents at a certain point can be shared at the request of the chair, and I've not been doing that. But it could be shared, can be put on in a site, in a file somewhere or whatever, where the public can go look at them to see what we're doing.
It's also
You know, as to the wisdom of that, I don't know. Yes, Liz.
it's also possible, given how frequently she attends these meetings, that she was, she saw a screen share similar to what we're doing now
Yeah.
and wrote in just a proposed change. And I don't think that group has voted on it yet. It's come into recess.
Okay, shall we perhaps not spend any more time on this? We have very
Sure, yeah, fine.
limited amount of time.
Sorry, I apologize, Mr. Chair. It was a process related question.
Oh, sure.
And I've raised this with a couple of the other commissioners before, and I just think it's important that, we're conducting our business in a manner that's, the way we should be. So I apologize for raising.
Oh, you don't need to apologize, Jane. I think it was a very relevant question. I'm just saying, having raised it and having us all scratch our heads about it, maybe it can be raised again the next time we've got Kevin around, and we can ask him once and for all, what are we supposed to be doing about this stuff? I thought that I knew what we were supposed to be doing. But
Okay,
maybe
fair, yeah.
not.
I think Bill has his hand up.
Yes, Bill.
Just a quick comment.
Sure.
What's happening here is that we're tipping into the illegal meeting. You've got 8 people on another committee, and you've just gone past 9, adding it to more without having made the document public. I think we need to close this item immediately and move on.
I'm not. Okay, who are let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
This is
Sure.
added, Bob, that's added to the committee that's already seen it. Randy has already warned us about having 4 people and then pass on to 4 more and then pass on to a few more. And what you do is you accumulate a majority that way. This we cannot do. I'm going to ask that this not be under further discussion, this item, right document or wrong document.
Wow. Patty,
I was just
And then
gonna
Liz.
say, we all now have access to it because it's been emailed to us. What do we do with that? I
But
mean, I
Patty-
saw it this
Patty,
morning.
I don't think it's been emailed to everybody on the commission, though. I didn't receive a copy of it.
I haven't seen it yet either.
Really? I don't know
Liz,
why I got it.
okay, okay, Liz,
So, Bill, if you would help us understand the point of order here, I think the intent of this update was to be a very brief, 3-minute, Bob would say something, Kyle would say something, I would say something, just a quick report of here's what's going on there, and we would, move forward and back to the work of this
That
committee.
would work
It-
fine, Liz. That would work fine.
Yeah, just a
Is that
verbal
within
report.
the,
Yeah.
all right, all right, all right, okay. Obviously, it's bothering some folks, and so we're not going to put it up. I will just tell you very briefly about the work of what I know about the work of the Climate Committee, and then the other members of the Climate Committee that are here. Please chime in and fill in the gaps, which will probably be large. Just very briefly, the Climate Committee is on the way to approving, I believe, the creation of the Climate and Environment Department and a Climate and Environment Commissioner and a Climate Advisory Committee appointed by the County Council. There have been produced some very wonderful and detailed findings. And I don't know who is responsible for getting all of those, but they could be very useful to us if we ended up saying certain things about nature, and they could be very useful to us in showing that a bad problem exists worldwide, nationally, statewide, and that there's a problem here in the county, okay, that needs to be addressed. There's some very useful things in that. And so that's where we are. Other committee members, please chime in. Liz, what do you got in addition? Anything?
no, nothing to add.
Okay. Do you think I have accurately described where the other committee is?
Yeah, I apologize, Bob, I was distracted, so nothing to add.
Oh, you were, okay. Yes, Bill.
A quick question. Are they using the same definition of nature as we are? I noticed that the word appears in that document.
Well, I don't.
There should be one definition for the whole.
Yeah, right now, here's the deal. Right now, I don't think nature is appearing in the document. I think
Okay.
it's
It-
an
it
environment.
appeared in the one we were showing. that's all.
Right, right. And I think there,
Mistake.
to make this straight, I think that what Commissioner Shanks, and not Commissioner, yes, he is Commissioner, of course, Chairman Shanks is saying is that if we come up with a Bill of Rights, for instance, that contains the rights of nature, if we do that, if nature is in there, then they're going to go back and change what they've got, or they may go back and change what they've got and put nature in there. We have the definition of nature. We've passed it. It's a short, like one-liner, you know.
Understood.
It was very, very elegant and short. All right. So we've got that. And we also, obviously, we have our preamble, which has been passed. And that's sitting out there. So now all we have left is, are we going to do a Bill of Rights? And if so, what is it going to look like? Are we going to use the concept of the rights of nature separately, or are we going to have a Bill of Rights that contains the concept of the rights of nature? That is where we are, folks. And we have 2 weeks from today, we will be presenting our final report, including findings. So I think it's incumbent upon us to do our best somehow to emerge today with what we're going to do regarding a Bill of Rights. I did a little bit of research. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kyle.
Continue, Bob. I want to hear the rest of that.
Well, I was just gonna say, I did a little bit of research. I don't want to do the thing where I'm talking all the time. I got upgraded for it, rightfully so, last week, and also for interrupting people. Please call me on that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy, okay? But I did do some research, late into the night, the last couple of nights. And some of the stuff you all may already know. But of the 7 charter counties, none of them has a Bill of Rights. The closest to a Bill of Rights is, I believe it is Pierce County, has a one-liner that says everybody that lives in this county has a guarantee of all the rights that are contained in the United States Constitution and its amendments, and the Washington State Constitution and its amendments, period, the end. Okay, that's it. So that's not a reason necessarily not to do it, but it puts in context the fact that we don't have one. No one else does either. They're very rare. And I think Jane actually had her hand up slightly first. Go ahead,
No,
Jane.
Kyle,
and
Kyle,
then
you
we'll get
were
back.
waiting to talk, so go ahead, Kyle. I'll go after you.
Okay,
I'm
yes,
gonna-
that's right. Go ahead, Kyle.
So I'm gonna say, as unpopular this might sound, and I'd like us at some point today to talk about how we see timing for a vote of the people as critical on this topic. I know there's cross-reference to a Bill of Rights elsewhere in other committees. I think part of the reason Anne Marie sent that, Commissioner Shanks sent this to us, is to look for those intersections in terms so we can inform each other. But I don't think in the 2-week period, in part because no one else has been on this ground before or been willing to see it all the way through, I don't see this. I think it's irresponsible to move forward on a Bill of Rights in a short time frame. That does not mean I don't want to entertain it. I think we should. I'm willing to continue the work to make sure that it's right, because I think there is another intersection here between how to define a more classic Bill of Rights for people, for non-discrimination, inclusion, so forth, and then definitions, getting the definitions right. And I think we're close, but then figuring out how to incorporate the work that Liz has drawn attention to from outside, other groups, but beyond this one. And I would like us to talk at some point about what we see for a timeline, and why, if we believe that it's got to be, that we have to have something, a yes or no on Bill of Rights in 2 weeks, why that is, and if we're willing to send whatever we have in that time period just to get it done. So that's my input.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, to build on what Kyle just said, because as you know, we're both on the Justice and Equity Committee together. We're co-chairs of that. And actually Sharon Abreu, another fellow commissioner, is in listening mode today because she's also on that committee and wanted to hear us talk about this Bill of Rights concept. So building on what Kyle just said, we had the idea in our Justice and Equity Committee to propose an amendment to the charter that includes a declaration that the county is anti-racist and respects the equal rights of all peoples. So a declaration that speaks to the importance of anti-discrimination in this county, as per the proposed amendment we will be making for a non-discrimination section. And we felt that a declaration of some sort is in order in terms of upholding the rights of all peoples in this county. So what we realized, our committee, is that if indeed we proceed with a Bill of Rights, as this committee has been discussing for some time, that there's no reason we cannot build into that Bill of Rights those principles of the rights of all peoples, to be free of discrimination and racism, et cetera. And so I very much support the idea of a Bill of Rights. I'm interested in people's thoughts on Kyle's timeline question. And I just want to say that it's congruent with what would be valuable for the purposes of our committee to have our charter say about upholding certain rights. And I also agree with the work of this committee and the Environment Climate Change Committee in that, indeed we want to find, we all, I think, want to find some good language that is equally respectful of the environment we live in. So that's my 2 cents. That also brings you a bit up to date on our Justice and Equity Committee group.
Thank you so much, Jane. Patty?
Well, I really appreciate that, Jane. It's the Bill of Rights sounds like it is key to some of the commission's work, definitely. And I totally agree with Kyle that we're not really ready to have the perfect document yet. And it may take another month or two to work that out. It may not be something that can be voted on with this election that's coming up in November. I don't know, but I agree that it needs to be correct and it needs to be right. And the fact that other committees are sort of hinging on it makes it more complicated. But I agree with Kyle. We need more than 2 weeks. And so if you have to report in 2 weeks on this, at least we have a preamble to report. And I would propose that we report that we need more time.
Thank you, Patty. And if I could take just a second to respond to that and to what Kyle was saying, makes a lot of sense that we are being completely pressed. I didn't pick the date of the 19th. It was assigned to us. And so far, people are reporting their final product and stuff has started to be voted upon. However, I mean, I don't know when we go into June, how much time we have. Somebody else here may know that, but I know that we have to get something to the city council and we only have a certain amount of time, but I can discuss that with Kevin. Well, what I suggested I do is we don't wait till the 19th and report to them we don't have it done. I think I ought to go to him now and say, my committee doesn't think that it can get done, and I don't think so either by that time. Do you want us just to report the few things that we have and then come back on another date, or do you want to change our date? I don't know if we may be the last committee. I don't know if we're the last committee or not. Okay, I saw Bill's hand go up. Bill, and you're muted.
You're still muted. There
think-
you go.
Go
I
ahead.
think one problem we've got is that while everybody wants to confirm we're right-thinking people, and we want the county to announce to the world that it is right thinking, we can create no rights whatsoever. And we have started this project in the belief in our minds that we might possibly invent a way to improve nature's position in the world, in the human legal world. This charter does not have the power to do anything of the sort. And so we're left with declarations of the rights that already exist. We can do that, and if it makes people feel good, and I think this has a lot to do with that drive, but we can create no rights in nature. It's not possible. It's the legislature that has to do that. The county cannot even do it. And so we are going to spin our wheels in desperation. And I want to say that while I am a lawyer, I have another half. And I was thinking of having the title of the charter, and below that, a really good ecological haiku. Because we started out with the idea that we could change the way people saw things. You don't do that through the law. You might change how people act, but not how they see. And the truth is that it takes a really good writer or a poet to make someone see things differently. This is beyond our capability. We are a committee designing a horse, and we're going to present a camel. And it's, I'm sorry, I've gone through this with you. I'm just speaking as somebody who says we will have no substantive effect. And I think we should tell the group that. I think the environmental committee has done huge, major moving, and I applaud them. That is where the action is for all legal purposes. It's a legal document. I think there are other things we can do, but I don't think this is a route to where we thought we could go.
Bill, I understand what you're saying. Let me respond if I might. I jotted down a very short couple of sentences of a potential path if we wanted to go this way. And, you know, we may not want to go this way at all. The first would be to send a Bill of Rights that contains the rights of nature to get it done and send it to Randy, right? And then if Randy okays it, which I would be amazed at, if he okays it, then fine. But if he shoots it down and we can't proceed with it, then we have a second avenue, which is you may have, I know you've all heard the discussion of the fact that we are going to create a list of suggestions for the county council, and that we take what we have produced and suggest that they do their best to implement this through the creation of ordinances and you know, that do pass muster, and that we also ask the new Department of Climate and Environment to take the things that we put in this, which would now be kind of an advisory document, and try to put them into effect. I don't know of another way to do this. To me, the thing that we might change in what I just described is we might not send a Bill of Rights to them at all. I don't know. I would love to ask this question if I can. I know Jane's got her hand up, so I'll wait on my question until Jane comments. Go ahead.
So it's a question for you all. I'm not sure who knows the answer, but if we came up with some language for a Bill of Rights and we send it to Randy to review, what you're saying about him shooting it down, you know, is that the role of the prosecuting attorney to shoot down language that we write for inclusion in a charter amendment? That's not my understanding. And that's my question to you guys. But my comment is, I've looked at what Liz put together in that document that she shared. And to me, I feel like that is a good basis on which we could work. I can see how we could make some amendments to that, but to me, it's a very tight document. I think the rationale that she put to us, which is this is something that is material that has been worked on extensively by our community members, and indeed, the Earth Charter was actually endorsed by our county council some years back. And so I read that document she shared with all of us, and to me, I think it's a very workable piece. But I start off then with that question. I mean, is that Randy's job, is to shoot down what we put forward?
Let me respond briefly to that, and I think it looks like Bill wants to respond to it too. And Bill, you correct me if you think I'm wrong on this, but Randy is our attorney. He is our advisor. I don't think Randy can tell us not to put something, can say, you may not, or, I'm not going to allow you, I have a right of veto or something. I don't think he can tell us what to put in the charter or not put in the charter, but he is the individual who will be defending us in court if this is attacked. And if he's telling us he has no defense for it, we would be, I mean, then we're tilting at windmills, and maybe tilting at windmills is okay if that's what people want to do. Let me, Bill, you have your hand up, and then I want to ask two questions of the group. Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Well, Bob, first place, I perfectly agree. Randy advises us, he does not determine. We can put anything out if we want to, but a couple of consequences may happen. First, we've made our grand creed occur, and the voters vote it down, or enough voters support it and they vote it through, but it's legally ineffective. And I guess the question is, we have to decide whether this is a feel-good effort, which we all desperately need under the circumstances, or whether this is something that is supposed to do something.
I don't know about everybody else, but he's breaking up to me. I can't understand anything he's saying.
Can anybody else hear me?
I heard you clearly and take offense with what you said.
Well, I'm sorry, you take offense. You can talk about it later. This is important here because it is a question. Liz, your document has a statement in there that says, if you hurt nature, you will have to pay damages. Now, that's just void. It's how we
I
feel.
can't.
But it
Bill, I
is-
think we have to make sure that the chairman can hear you, and I don't think he's
It
hearing.
isn't legally effective.
No,
And the
Bill,
problem is,
hang on just a second. We've lost our chairman. He's not hearing. So I think we need to correct
where's
that.
our chairman?
I cannot understand what you're saying, Bill, but I'll say this, we're not in the other people. So let's please try to coach what we have, couch what we have to say in terms that feelings. But
Well-
Patty, you had your hand up for just a second.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, Bill, were you done?
I was only wondering if you could call in, Bob, because everybody else can hear fine, but you can't. Is there some way we can make? sure
Patty,
you can
did you
hear?
have your hand up?
Can you maybe call into the meeting or something so that you're there? I think everybody else is here, but you're having trouble.
Are they? No, I'm fine.
You could take your
Let's see
video
if it-
off, Bob. You could
Yes.
take your video off. That would.
Then you wouldn't see you wouldn't be able to see my, oh, I see what you're saying.
Your charming
Yeah.
face. And Kyle does have his hand
Boom.
up.
Thank you. I did see it and I was attempting to call on him. Kyle,
I was just going to say, I would like us to all continue to use our defined rules about acknowledgement and hand raising. All I wanted to say was you could turn your video off on and off as needed, and that might give you more bandwidth.
thank you so
So,
much, Kyle.
I just want to say,
I would like to ask, go ahead.
I watched last week's meeting last night and am struggling with some of the tenor here, and I can feel some of this slipping like it did last week. There's no need for that. There are clearly, maybe not cross purposes, but there are clearly some strong feelings and some black and white thinking. Some of it's mine. I think we can move forward and still get to an end point without raising our voices and starting to get frictional. That was it.
I apologize.
Thank you, Bill. Let me ask this question, a couple of questions, all right? Because I want to get this clear in my mind, and I hope I won't take up a whole bunch of time. But the first thing I want to ask is, do people on the committee think it is incumbent upon us to produce a document that is likely to pass the voters? Is that, how important is it? Because it may not be important to people. I don't know. How important is it to you? Can I, Liz, go ahead.
I'm not sure that it's our job to second guess whether something will pass or not. I think it is our job to reflect the community wishes, and at our town hall meetings, in our ongoing subcommittees, we have a lot of community members showing up around the issue of, protecting the natural world, our ecosystems. So from that perspective, I think it is incumbent on us to produce a document that reflects that.
Okay. So it sounds like what you're saying, Liz, is that you believe that the community, the whole community and the voters are behind the idea of the rights of nature and will pass a document that has that in it?
No, Bob, so no, I don't
No?
know that. That's why I'm saying to work as closely as we can with a document that the community is already behind.
Okay,
And-
let me ask Liz, let me see if I understand that.
Yeah,
Are you saying that the community, and I don't mean the community of people who want to save nature, I mean the general community, is behind that document?
I don't have the answer to that.
I don't
I-
either. That's why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
yeah, I don't have a pulse on that. I think history is beginning to unravel, and nature is demonstrating that we've exceeded her carrying capacity, and so it's not the results of our not doing something very proactive about this are not 10 years off. They're not in somebody else's
Yeah.
backyard. We had the smoke, all last summer or summer before from the results. All of those kind of things. I don't need to go down that list. It's a present danger. And so I think from that standpoint, there are a lot of people who are new to the conversation and are terrified of where we are and unclear about what to do about it. So and that's not at all saying that there won't be a part of the population who still, as Tom Starr has said to us clearly, that he does not believe in climate change. So I'm not denying that those people are there, and I do think that there's a rapidly growing number of people who are waking up and alarmed by what they're seeing, and would like to have solutions put in front of them that address that.
Thank you, Liz. Does anybody else on the committee have an opinion about that question, about where the people, and by the people I mean everybody in this county that votes, where they stand on this issue of nature having rights, and whether that ought to be included in our charter? Yes, please, Kyle.
I think to Liz's point, I think there's a growing number of people, maybe I dare say a majority of people, who have some emotional feeling and some sense of criticality out, in and amongst the public, and would potentially move some of what we're working on forward. I think the difference, though, between being successful at generating a Bill of Rights and knowing that it's got the means to not only aspire to particular goals, but actually to have a protective quality, to actually reinforce those rights as they're given. For instance, the idea that, for the people, by the people, if we express that we value that the government should be structured in order to enable what we want in the world, then our government should be capable of structuring in that way. And I'm not sure that we can offer that. I mean, we are not changing any fundamental parts of government other than adding some potentially an elected position and some commissions. But I think it's worse if we shortchange the effort, or we do push something forward because people want that, and then don't account for how it has long-term merit and how it achieves those endpoints that we're all also after.
Thank you,
does that
Kyle.
make sense?
Yeah, it does. Jane, get your hand up.
Yeah, I am a bit interested, I must say, in Bob, your and Bill's legal perspective on what a Bill of Rights in our charter would do for us in terms of serving something in the way of kind of laying out important principles to this county and to this government. And so is that what it does? Like, if a Bill of Rights is inserted in our charter, let's say we come up with some good language that we're all satisfied with, and that sort of is the basis on which we intend to see our government do things related to the environment because of the creation of that elected commissioner on the environment, the creation of that office. And then in the case of the commission, we're going to be proposing the creation of a Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Commission. Does the Bill of Rights just help us to ground those other amendments that Kyle said are sort of like get into and you, Bill, said get into the work that needs to be done by the county or other bodies? Is it aspirational? Is it principle based? And I'm just trying to understand what does the Bill of Rights do for us as a county beyond just stating important principles? I'd really appreciate your perspective on that.
Well, thanks. I think that, and Bill, you correct me if you are thinking differently, but I think that in the first place, one of the reasons that none of the other charter counties have a Bill of Rights is because the the Bill of Right, the rights that we all talk about all the time about ourselves, vis-a-vis other individuals, which is really what the National Bill of Rights is about. You can't do this to me, government. You know, that's kind of what the Bill of Rights is about. Those rights are contained in the Constitution and amendments of the United States and Constitution and amendments of Washington State. And so there is no need. You can repeat them for, here's another place where they are. See, these are the ones that we already have. But what you can't do, I don't believe, is I don't think you can create rights out of whole cloth.
Right.
I could be wrong there. I would love to be wrong, right? I would love for some court to say, well, it's your turn, county, you can do it. But Jane, before I call on you, Bill briefly had his hand up. Can you say what you have to say briefly, Bill? And then I want to go back to Jane.
Is it Jane? You want to go first?
No, I wanted to hear your take, Bill. I wanted to hear you.
First, I think Bob is absolutely right. We cannot create new rights. We cannot grant nature rights. I sent that 4.5-page thing out to explain that the way you give nature rights is to restrain the hand of human beings. And that's in the existing environmental protection laws. When my submission to this group contained one little nudge, and it was an agreement that we will enforce those laws to protect nature. And that was my proposal. It hasn't been discussed, and I'm not going to push it because the group's the boss. But the point is our enforcement of our laws, which is exactly what the Environmental Committee is looking at. We've got laws. We want somebody to see that they're enforced, so they fit perfectly. Legally, we can do no more. And even what I suggested was to say, this is our intent. We mean it. And while it's aspirational, it's a statement of determination. That's, in my opinion, that's as far as we can go. The rest is to my grief, we cannot do.
Mr. Chair, just a follow-on question for you
Sure, Jane.
and Bill, then, just related to this, because I think it might have been Kyle that put it in the chat, but what does it mean if we do not have that Bill of Rights that states, that clearly states the county's intentions in this regard? What is that problematic to not have a statement of that sort?
I don't think it's problematic, but we're missing an opportunity if we don't do that in some way, either through this Bill of Rights or through something that we send to the county, or something that we just, we can state in the Bill of Rights, for instance, we think things should be this way. We can say that, and then it becomes purely aspirational, and it's obvious that it's aspirational. What I have real trouble with is us saying we are declaring today that the Doug Fir has these rights. I don't think that's going to work, and that breaks my heart, because I have taken up this cause inside here, to try and get this done. We have seen nothing but from the public, but right? I don't think we've had a single person who's come up and said, "Are you crazy? Trees don't have rights. What's the matter with you?" We have, and I guess you all have gotten these too. Letter after letter after letter of beautifully phrased and beautifully intended ideas about the rights of nature. Yes, Jane.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to ask a follow-on question to Bill that I kind of tried to ask before, but that is, if we do not put in, from your legal perspective, if you don't have a Bill of Rights in there, what does that say to you? I'm just curious what your perspective on. Thank you, Bob, for sharing yours. I'm just interested in Bill's thoughts as well on this.
I'm just saying, well, first place, other counties aren't doing it and they're not suffering. Who's going to suffer are a large number of people who have expectations. And the truth is, there are going to be some broken hearts if we don't say something. And the frustration is that if we don't do anything, if we do something, it won't be legally effective. And so we're forced into a kind of a sham game. It's really unfortunate. The real protection of nature is in the responsibilities of human beings. And people won't vote for that. So, and the responsibilities of human beings are built into our environmental laws. And so, I confess I'm at a loss. I gave it a shot, just as all of you did, to see if it was possible. So your question is, how would people feel? I don't know, but I know that there would be broken hearts. The town hall is full of people. We all intuitively want to give rights to nature. It just isn't the way things work.
Thank you, Bill. Kyle? You're muted.
I'm-
Okay, good.
I'm just going to ask the general question. I'm not looking necessarily for an answer from anybody right now, but how do we move the needle? How does any of this take shape? How does it get traction? How do you change from and this is largely, it's not theoretical, but over time, the entire history of this country, we have made changes. And I appreciate, that the contained answer is you go to Olympia or you go to DC. Of course you do, but there are other mechanisms, are there not, for how a group of people gets heard or instigates a conversation at a wider level. And I'm not sure that there's specific room here, but there is an opportunity, and there is not, I'd like to talk about this at some point. I don't see another mechanism in this county through which the work of Friends of the San Juans, or the work of the groups that we're trying to include voices from right now, how do they make tangible steps forward? And so
Yeah. What if we did this? What if we jettisoned my suggestion? I'm willing to let that go. My suggestion about what it ought to look like. Just go directly to Liz's and pass that, and take a close look at it, and now, and see if there's things in it that we totally can't live with. Pass it, given Bill's what Bill has said and what I've said about how you can't do that, but pass it anyway and see what happens. Because we either got to pass it and see what happens, or come together and say we can't do this. And there are so many people. It seems like there's a lot of people who, as you said, their hearts will be broken if we don't pick up this cause and maybe tilted windmills, but Don Quixote's a hero. Yeah, Jane. And
I
then
think
Liz.
Liz had her hand up first.
Okay, Liz, go ahead.
Or Jane, and Kyle had his hand up, and then I think it's me, so.
Okay, that's the order then. Jane, Kyle, Liz. Go, Jane.
I'll be quick. I feel like I've been talking too much. But I certainly heard what Bill said about that one line in the document, of what Liz put forward, that, you can't do that by law. Fair enough. Like, I think if everybody's prepared to take a look at that piece, and see whether we want to work with it. But I would suggest, if we agree that we want to see how we can work with that document, that we amend it in a manner that that really speaks to the intent that we think this county should have with regard to ensuring laws are enforced that protect nature, and ensuring that human actions are where they are able to be enforceable, to conduct themselves in certain ways that are protecting our environment, our ecosystem, nature, et cetera, and each other. Let's get language in there that'll stand up, and that is clearly states what our county wants in this regard. And that would be my suggestion. And not do stuff that's stupid, Bob. Like, I think we should come up with language that reflects what we want to do with regard to both the elected environment commissioner, the office of the environment, or whatever we're calling that, the things we want to do around justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. Let's have some language that supports that, in terms of stating we want to be a county that that cares about this stuff, and this is what that looks like. This is what that is. I don't know. That's, sorry, I did talk too long.
Thanks, Jane. Kyle, and then Liz. Kyle's shaking his head no. Liz,
So
do you have something?
yes,
Okay.
several different somethings. One, I think we need to elevate our thinking and our languaging of to refer to some people are going to be heartbroken and sad or upset. I think that really disregards the the point that we're at, and God, there's so many different levels of this. To say that the rights of nature are dependent on human and I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get my.
You want to think about it? Because I have a motion.
No, and I think
Go ahead.
I think the conversation, and Bill, I'm trying to make, because I know you and I share a common heart around doing this. So I'm trying to clarify where the rub is. And I think maybe it has to do with, I see a lot more value in the conversation, in bringing the conversation forward, in having us, and then having the large commission, having the community sitting in and listening to look at, because if you go back, and if we do use the analogy that says, I never would have had a right. My right was dependent on my husband recognizing any need, concern, resources that I might need. And it was illegal for me to say otherwise or try and do otherwise. So to have these conversations, to keep redefining and relanguaging how we want to begin to live, given what we now know. We now know it isn't an infinite planet. So that's why I think it matters, and to get the language out there,
Liz,
is inherent.
okay, Liz, this country, in the history of our country, we have had two ways that we have attempted to make change. One is through our system of law and justice. That's the go to Olympia thing, okay? And the second is we fought and killed people. We had a revolution, right? And we didn't go through any legal means. That was illegal to do that. We had a revolution and set up our own government. Then a whole bunch of people in 1860 did this again, did not follow through laws, but through violence. Laws are the way to go. Listen, I have a motion. I'm going to make the motion now. Maybe no one will second it. My motion is that we adopt the Bill of Rights that Liz presented to us. I think it was yesterday. Any second on that? Not even Liz, who proposed it, isn't going to second it? Okay, I know where we are then. All right, go ahead, Patty.
I didn't see
Bob.
anything from yesterday.
Timeout. We got timeout.
Mr. Chair, there are numerous hands. While you were speaking, there were hands.
I'm
you
sorry.
were talking over. Can you see everyone right now on your screen?
Yeah, yes, I can. But
Okay.
when you say
Okay.
talking over, a person who's talking does have the right to continue to talk when
True.
hands go up, right? Until they get to the end of their sentence or whatever. Okay. Okay. Then if it wasn't Patty, does someone have an idea? Not you, Liz. It's not your turn. Okay. I will get back with you. I promise. But if there are other people who've had their hands up, particularly Patty, who never gets to say anything because she's taking minutes. All right.
I just meant I haven't seen Liz's new thing. If she sent something
Okay.
yesterday, somehow I don't have it.
Liz, nobody has a hand up now, so I'm glad to hear from you. Go ahead.
So point of clarity.
Yeah.
The document that I sent out was sent on 4/27. I resent it last night. There's no changes to it whatsoever.
Okay.
And it was not sent as a complete, let's pass this. It was sent as a starting point that included what our community did. And we would look at that, and I tried to be as clear as I could in my email to everybody in articulating that. I know that Jane has input from her committee. I guess Kyle's also on that committee that needs to be woven into it. So no, it was not presented as a let's pass this. It was presented as a, this is the document for us to wordsmith from, because the community will most likely recognize themselves in it. Bob, you and I don't know what we don't know. And for us to be trying to write a document in a 3-month time frame that people have spent their lives and years trying to create, you know, it's unreasonable task we've asked of ourselves. That's why I propose that as a starting point.
Hold on, I got to get back to my video. Just a second.
Both Bill and Kyle have their hands up, Mr. Chair, just letting you know.
All right, Kyle, go ahead.
Bill's first. Go ahead, Bill.
Go ahead, Bill, then.
Well, I'm just suggesting that we might want to go back to the full CRC tomorrow and say, and explain what the logjam is. The logjam is whether the commission wants us to go forward and state the best intentions as though they were rights because we can create none, or whether they want us to do something like what Liz has produced. I've been through it pretty carefully, which is why I've been so nasty. And I'm sorry, Liz, because it's a huge effort and I respect it. And we both do want to go in the same direction. But I wonder whether we don't, considering the kind of logjam we have, whether we don't want to get instructions from the full CRC.
I see. Who is next?
Kyle was next, and then I have.
Yeah,
my hand.
Kyle, and then Jane. Go ahead, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I propose. I think what's missing here, and it's not in any way a means to shut the public out, but I think we have an agenda most times and miss the actual capacity of working on the Bill of Rights. I'm going to propose that Saturday or Sunday, somehow before we meet next Tuesday, that we have a work session in which we take kind of the watershed of ideas and try and process a document. And maybe it's a couple of versions, maybe it's not this week, maybe it's in a subsequent week. And it isn't so that we fit all of this inside of a deadline. I still contend, like Liz just said, that this is a multi-month, if not longer, process to do. But I think we need some actual homework time where we're going line by line and working on it together. I'm not sure if there's tolerance for that, but I think that's a future need.
That sounds like a good idea to me. Kyle, does everybody on the committee realize that if it is a multi-month endeavor, it's not on the ballot in November? You got that? Everybody knows that, right?
Right.
So you're going to have to give up 2021. Maybe we should. That's a kind of a gigantic thing, because I think right now, I believe the idea is to try and get it on the ballot in November. But I agree that we don't want to put on something that is just a piece of doo-doo. Was Patty first, or was? Go ahead, Patty. Then I'll get back to you. Okay, Jane. Go ahead, Patty.
Okay, I only wanted to say that what I read Kyle asking was that we get together now and produce something now, so we don't have to wait for next year.
Good idea. Jane.
Yeah, I think Kyle's suggestion of having a working session where we as a committee just look at the document together and work it through is a good idea. We did that with our Justice and Equity Committee last week and made major progress. And I think if we all agree that we want to have something like a Bill of Rights in our proposed as an amendment to the charter, then let's just get down to work and work on the text. I think that for me, it's not about, breaking hearts if we don't get it perfect. It's about respecting what our constituents want us to propose in the way of amendments to the charter, and doing our best to come up with language that respects the tremendous work that so many people in this county have done on this. And so I think let's just get down to business. I don't know that we could surprise ourselves, have a working session, and realize, wait a minute, wow, we've got the language, we've got what we want. So I don't think we're as far away as we all maybe think we are. And the other thing is, I absolutely do not recommend we go to the full commission asking them the question of this nature. That would be highly inappropriate. It's been hard enough for me to jump on board as a late coming committee member to your process committee. The rest of the commission is not going to know how to answer that question. I think that's not a good move at all. If anything, it will shoot the idea down completely. And because the rest of the commission is not informed and up to speed as to what this group has been doing. And a related point to that, and it kind of speaks to what Liz said, one of our commissioners said about not believing in climate change. I think it's naive of this committee to think that everybody in our county feels the same way about the environment. And we don't all interact with the same people in this county. And I can tell you that there are a lot of people that have a lot of difficulties in their lives that don't have the time to come to these committee meetings and follow them, and because they have other priorities, or they may have hardships they're facing or whatever. But I mean, I think it's completely naive to think that we're going to come up with some language that's going to make, 90% of the population of the county happy. Guess what? A large number of these people don't know or care anything about the rights of nature, unfortunately, because there isn't that level of awareness. So I think let's just go for some language and feel confident about it as a committee, and work on this in a working session, and which we're allowed to do, that doesn't have to be public, and get down to business and do it. I think we can do it for this ballot. That's my opinion. And Kyle knows I'm a scrapper. He knows that. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh yeah. Do we want to attempt to create rights in the face of both Bill and myself advising generally that we can't create rights like this? Do we want to go ahead and attempt to create rights? And I might vote to do it, even though I don't think we can. Can we do? Is that what you want to do, or do we want to make this an advisory or an aspirational kind of document? Which is it? It's got to be one of the two, right? Anybody have an opinion about it? Okay, we can talk more about it at this thing that you're talking about. I agree. We need additional time. So I personally can't do it on Saturday because I have a Democratic Party meeting, blah, blah. That's I think it's at 10 o'clock or something like that. It runs through till maybe 1.
Yeah.
I can do it later in the afternoon. However, what I'm going to do, if he will accept this assignment, I've done it to him before. I'll ask Kyle to lead the discussion. Okay, I'm going to attend, but I'm going to be like you guys, raising my hand and going, "Hey, listen to me." Okay, so I want to see what that feels like. So I'm going to ask Kyle, will you do that?
Feels like a rotten, dirty trick, Mr. Chair, but I'm willing. I just wanted to say we have 5 members of the public by my count. So if you want them all to have 3 minutes and wanted 15, then about 5 minutes we need to.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. Now let's find the right time. First of all, is there anybody who disagrees that a session like this will be helpful and needful for us? It sounds like you don't. So now let's think about this. Can we do this in just a couple of days? Do we have to announce this? Do we have to make it public, or is it some sort of a smaller work session? Yes, Liz.
I just wondered, is it helpful if we plan to have a presentation from the community members that have worked so long on this to inform us before we step aside?
Boy, I wouldn't think so. I mean, I think we know where they stand, and I don't know about you, but I've got it right here. I know where they stand, and they're here at every meeting, and they send us letters and everything. That's not the problem. The problem is, where do we stand? Okay, that's what we need to find out. Yes, Kyle.
To Liz's point, I would welcome any additional materials if knowing we were going to work at this level, if anyone wanted to send something in before the meeting time. It's always appropriate, but that might be helpful.
I would agree. Jane.
Yeah, I have a request then. If we're asking the public to provide us material, I would ask that they please keep in mind that there's a human rights aspect to this as well. And so please be mindful that we're not just talking about Yeah, I'm sorry, we're not just talking about nature. I would appreciate if there's any input on the human rights kind of angle, the equal rights of all peoples. If anybody has any language of that nature too, because this is, so much of this is being tilted to the environment. And I respect that. I understand that. I appreciate it. I support it. Yeah. So I'm coming at it from a different angle, as you know.
Jane, did you look at the document that I produced? I don't know whether you looked at it or not. The first page dealt entirely with human to human.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did, Bob. Thanks. Yeah.
Liz,
You,
saw your hand shoot up. What do you got?
I had a question about scheduling, so maybe
Sure,
that's premature.
Sure, that's what I've been wanting to do here, if we can. What was your
You-
question about it?
You had mentioned that you had an appointment on Saturday. Saturday would be better for me than Sunday. So I just wondered what the window, if any, on Saturday was. And I'll just,
2 o'clock on? That work? What do people want to do?
and Kyle,
What does our moderator want? What do you think we should do?
I'm
Kyle?
going to leave it open on purpose. I guess first Saturday versus Sunday, start there. Is there anyone who
Saturday,
can't do Saturday?
I'd prefer not to, but if that's what the majority wants, I'll go with it. Just because I'm just blasted with meetings all week. Saturday was the only day I was going to have that didn't have meetings in it. But I'll
You're
go.
welcome.
Jane,
Thanks.
this is Sunday. You just,
Listen, I'll go with the flow. I'll go with the
Okay.
flow. Yeah. So
Thank you, Jane. How about Saturday from 2 to, I'd say, wouldn't you think at least 3 hours?
No.
no, 3 hours. is
Shorter,
Hope not.
people's brains explode. at
an
that
hour and a
point?
half. It should max out in an hour and a half. Personally, I can't take any more than an hour and a half. I've just got too many Zoom meetings and it's exhausting. So an hour and a half. I
Okay,
would say.
wow, that'd be spectacular, an hour and a half. Okay, that's pretty, I hear what you're
Any-
saying. Yes, Kyle.
Anytime is good, is going to be advantageous. And the trick will be, and I will help moderate, the trick will be to keep it focused on language development or
Not,
consolidation. We
not
should have,
easy to do.
nope, but a good goal, 90 minutes of whip cracking.
All
You
right,
have other
so,
you have other hands.
yes, Bill.
Well, why don't we agree that we all start with Liz's document and we all put in our suggested changes to it so that we're looking at the same thing. Otherwise, we're going to be all over the place. The other thing is that I know that our observers feel strongly, but we're kind of down to the nuts and bolts here, and no amount of urgency can change the result because we are so constrained by the tools we are forced to work with. That the force of argument can't move us because we're trapped by the rules under which we have to operate. And I hope those who are watching understand this.
Thank you. We have public comment coming up. Yes, what do you have, Kyle?
I was just going to suggest we add, if we need it, 10 minutes to the end of our meeting, if everyone wants to take all of the public time. And we make that the last order, unless there's new business, and we make the scheduling time our last order and move now to public comment.
Yeah, we have 15 minutes of public comment as soon as we, in just a second. Well, no, let's do it now. Okay, we're going to add 10 minutes to wrap up the meeting. We'll have public comment from now until 12 noon. Then we'll close public comment and bye-bye to the public, and we will continue to talk about logistics for this meeting coming up. That will be the subject and any new business, okay? So let me ask members of the public to go ahead and put your video on and unmute yourselves and stick your hands up if you got something to say. And I see the first hand I see up is Sharon's. So I guess you're a member of the public right now.
I'm a member of the public right now, and I'll be brief. I just want to say I'm really appreciate sitting in on this meeting. Question, is the preamble really a vision statement to give people an idea of the values that will be addressed in the charter? Is that a good way to look at it?
Why are you asking about the preamble? It sort of is. You know, it's been passed and sent on to the commission.
Oh, it
Did you know
has.
that? Yes.
So you're dealing specifically with a Bill of Rights that would not be in the preamble.
No, I think we would have Bill of Rights. I mean, we would have preamble, Bill of Rights, and then the rest of the
Oh, I see.
document.
Okay, I was thinking the Bill of Rights was going to be part of the preamble, but I'm clear on that now. Can I say, I just want to speak to what Bob said. I think it's safe to say that at this point in time, that the majority of people in San Juan County support protecting the natural environment that we live in and that we're part of. Whatever language the process committee decides on will be discussed by the full CRC. And we will know for sure if the majority of people in the county support it when it's on the ballot, of course. But even before that, we continue to get feedback in these meetings as we have been, and we have the June town halls, the first week of June, where we'll get more feedback. And it seems the majority of people that have shown up to these meetings very much support doing more to protect our natural ecology. So just wanted to say that, and that elections have shown that San Juan County is one of the most progressive-minded county in the state. You know, so I think we have good evidence there to support that we would have support for something like a Bill of Rights. And just to speak to what Jane said, you know, rights of nature, as far as I know, also is part of community rights. You know, the term that I've heard a lot is community rights and rights of nature, because what was happening across the country was that people were finding they were not able to stop big industrial polluting projects from coming into their communities and poisoning their drinking water. So, you know, my knowledge of the origins of the Community Environmental Legal Defense Fund, CELDEF, I'll put that into the chat, is that it's as much about protecting people's health as it is protecting nature.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Anne, would you unmute yourself and state who you are and where you're from?
Hi, I'm Ann Burlich Carb. I have been a resident of Locust Island for 15 years, and I currently don't live in the San Juans, but I've been encouraged by members of the comp plan to go ahead and speak. I have been refrained from doing that in the past, but I love the ecosystem. I'm still living on the edge of the Salish Sea. So what happens in the San Juans influences where I live also in Bellingham. I want to first of all thank you so much for all your efforts and your openness and the evolution of your hearts and minds concerning the issues of rights of nature and community rights, as Sharon was mentioned. I hear in the community an element of fear that exists in the and I think this is a fear of possibly being challenged by powers that be. That these powers that be have been historically in existence. They influence legislators that create the laws, and their voice is being heard because they do not want to lose that power. That power is historically, again, with the concept that nature is a commodity. And it's to be consumed, to be used until it's used up and it no longer exists. Humankind is so intertwined with nature that if nature is threatened, if nature is harmed, which is what is happening, we are no longer going to be in existence either. I don't feel that we are trapped. I don't feel this is a sham or a game, but that now is the time that we challenge those existing laws, that we don't back away from that with a fear of challenge, that we just continue to fight to get this word out, to have the language in the Home Rule Charter, and that we give communities back the right to protect their environment that they are so entwined and in part, because what happens to nature happens to us. So I thank you for letting me express my voice today. And I encourage you all to find in your hearts again and through the comp plan review, the courage to include rights of nature language and protections so needed for our bioregion. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Are there other members of the public who wish to speak? Yes, Chum. Would you state who you are and where you're from? Even though we all know you.
I'm Chom Grayson from Lopez Island. I really appreciate you all doing so much work and putting in so much thought into this process. I also appreciate the professional perspectives that you bring to this work. I would like to, I have spoken before in support of rights of nature, the Bill of Rights and so on. And I guess I have a question, particularly for Bill. I appreciate your professional experience that you bring, particularly your legal perspectives that you bring to this work. But maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I as a representative of the community members who have elected you, I thought your allegiance would be to represent the voices of the community, not so much to, I guess, be the voice that represents that holds up the sacredness of the law. And I guess I would like to appeal to you to maybe, I don't know, figure out like if this is what we want, is there a way to think creatively of how we interpret the law, or what kind of legal doctrine could we use or expand on or interpret in a way that actually would serve what we want to achieve. There are so many legal doctrines that need to be updated, like qualified immunity, or, like over time laws need to be changed. And there are many competing, conflicting legal doctrines. I guess I would like to appeal to your creativity and your legal experience to help us get where we want in a way that we understand, to really integrate rights of nature and Bill of Rights. We need to change, all the way from constitution to state law and so on. But change has to start somewhere, and it's really a big lift to try to, first thing go with changing, amending the constitution. So I feel like this is a concentrated effort at our local level to, to exert the rights to self-governance, like extending our rights to be able to protect the environment, to protect nature. And it may not be perfect, but it's a starting point, and that's what we are after. We want to make sure that the legal structure reflects what we truly want. And it may be not the right step, but it is a step in the right direction. I don't know. I just wanted to, end with this quote from Amanda Gorman. She, at the end of her poem, The Hill We Climb, she says, "There's always light if only we are brave enough to see it. If only we are brave enough to be it." Just wanted to leave you with that, and really want to express deep gratitude for all the hard work that you have put in and all the service you have done on behalf of our community. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Chom. I realize that you asked a question of one of our members, but this isn't a colloquy time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up with anybody else who has any comments. And when everybody is done, then I'll ask Bill if he has a response to what you said, Chom. But I don't want to do that until all the members of the public have had their opportunity to talk. And I see Alexandra's got her hand up. Alexandra, would you state who you are and where you're from?
Alexandra Gayak, Orcas Island. I just want to say that we have this, it seems like the conversation is sort of like, well, we're going to create what we're going to create in our proposals, and then we're going to throw them out to the public and then let them have at it. But I'm not hearing a conversation about how are we going to champion what we're doing? How are we going to sell what we're doing? How are we going to create a marketing campaign that educates people to understand why we're proposing what we're proposing, as I'm speaking we as if I'm, part of the committee here, the commission here, but you, the commission, are responding to input that you've had from the community. And when you come up with something and put it out to the voters, my thought is, isn't it also your responsibility to educate the public about why you are making those proposals and to help people come along with it? So it's not just like throw it out and then leave it, but throw it out and say, now let's create. The way they brought in the hospital district was by creating numerous public meetings, to really answer people's questions, but they were very one-sided. They were not like, well, let's invite everybody who has anything to say. It was like, no, we're here only for the purpose of convincing you that we need this hospital district. And I'm thinking, why can't we do the same thing with whatever it is that the commission proposes? That there's a group of people who've really put a lot of thought into this, who have created something that's meaningful and important, and they want the community to go along with it. So let's help them do that and not just leave it at, okay, we've done our job, now we're going to walk away. And I don't know legally or, technically what your responsibility is to any of that, but would really ask for you to think about how could that be organized, orchestrated, strategized, so that whatever you put out doesn't just fall flat on its face and go nowhere. I also agree with what Chom and Ann have said, and appreciate all the work that you've all done, trying to figure out, is there something we can do? How can we do it? I like what Bill said about his idea about crafting something that puts the responsibility onto people. What can people be? How can we restrict the actions of people? Whatever we can do to get us there. But I also, if anybody in this group wants a copy of that email that Bob put up at the beginning, I'm happy to share it. It's just something I was responding to a conversation in the other committee. So thank you all.
Thank you, Alexandra. Micheline,
Hi, everyone. I'm
Would you,
Micheline Halliday.
there you go. Go ahead.
Hi. Okay. I'm Micheline Halliday from San Juan Island. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for just sitting here and putting your hearts on the line, your thoughts on the line, and representing us in the county. There was a lot of talk about that if this doesn't fly, there'll be broken hearts. We're here because our hearts are already broken. It's what we see, what we know, and see the degradation in our environment and the suffering by animals. So we're already there with a broken heart. Jane brought up that 90% possibly don't care because of their life situations or their circumstances or even life experience. I don't know if 90% doesn't care. I think 90% doesn't know. Maybe they don't see what we see, or they don't have time in their life to connect with animals in the way that we have and know it's suffering. And maybe they just need more education. But I do agree with Jane that there is a percentage that just don't care, or we wouldn't be here. And she also said humans have rights. And I've said this before at the meeting, I want to have rights. I want to have the right to be able to change some of these systems and to say no, that you can't do what is now legal to do. Right now, it is legal to use rat poison, and anyone can use it. But I've watched eaglets bleed to death on a nest because their mom fed them an animal that had consumed rat poison. 2,000 barrels of DDT were found underwater near Channel Island. And I have watched eagles that have been reintroduced because they went extinct in the Channel Islands. I've watched them lay still to this day, lay egg after egg after egg that breaks, that still breaks. There's discarded fishing nets. That's legal to do that. It's legal to use plastic, yet we're being, we're covering the earth with little bits of plastic. So we have to change what our responsibility is as people. And a lot of people just can't do that. They have to be made to do that. And I know they cry that, oh, then you're taking away my rights. I don't think humans should have rights to do this to the environment. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Micheline. Ben.
Hi there. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
think so.
great. It's Ben Bama, San Juan Island. It's kind of going to be tough to follow that last comment because I feel very strongly about that too. But the thing I wanted to comment on, I just wanted to respond to a couple people and things they said. First off, I want to again go on record with my strong support of having a Bill of Rights for nature. And I wanted to address Kyle when he said that he had some concern about cutting out the public to have these sort of work sessions to, come up with some of the stuff you need to come up with. As a member of the public, I can see the constraints of the structure that you have to work in here. And please, by all means, take some time to work amongst yourselves and come up with something. I'm absolutely fine with that. This, as an observer, I can see how frustrating it is to, the speed at which some of this moves. And I imagine it's even more frustrating for all of you working on it. So please do what you need to do to, make what you feel is progress. I also wanted to address Jane concerning the rights of different people. Yes, we do have inequality among groups of people. That's absolutely true. I personally feel that's a different, it's a different topic than the rights of nature. Because right now, at least in my opinion, I mean, this is all my opinion, but that the scales are already tremendously tipped in the favor of the humans as opposed to nature. And once you start wading into the territory of the rights of different humans and the inequalities there, you've entered territory that's when the scale tips. You've entered different territory, and it seems like it's really hard to get back to the rights of humans versus the rights of nature, or the rights of nature to begin with, unless maybe you're talking about the rights of citizens versus the rights of corporations, but that's something a little different. But observing the Orca task force meetings that happened several years ago, it was supposed to be about the whales and the salmon, and it ended up being a whole bunch of people with an opinion about how their pocketbook was going to be affected. And I mean, virtually nothing came from that. And it seemed like never once was it truly about nature and the whales. And it's frustrating to see that. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Also, I wanted to say to Alexandra, your idea of having some sort of public, not necessarily a forum where there's back and forth, but some sort of education or messaging, or to use an overused word, branding, with some sort of ambassadors out there, just sort of interacting with the public and getting a message across. That's all I want to say. Again, I want to thank you folks for the incredible job you're doing and the time you're putting into this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any other members of the public who wish to comment? If not, we have certainly run quite a bit over our regularly scheduled time for that. We will leave public comment at this time and go back into session. I would ask for a 1 minute, please not more longer than 1 minute, Bill, response to Chom. I think her question basically was, is there a way for a person like yourself, a lawyer, to help to craft a positive and new legal theory that would have a chance of getting this thing across the finish line? Go ahead.
Well,
I think that's what it was.
I messaged Chom to say that I had her email and I would respond. I don't know that everybody wants to hear my answer or needs to, but quickly, underneath this whole thing is the issue of private property and economics and capitalism and the change of natural assets, including people's yards. For instance, Brown's sells glyphosate, weed killer. It's deadly stuff. They say it breaks down. It does. It breaks down into deadly stuff. My wife asked Brown's, why do you still carry it? She said, people buy it. Now, it's really us. It isn't the county. It isn't the law. It's us. People who don't drive EVs, their decision is almost always economic. That just brings it up again. The issue is us, what we do, not what we make other people do. But Cham and I will have a further conversation. I've known her for years, and I look forward to a conversation with her.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bill. All right, if we can now move on to, I think, where we're at. First of all, before we do the final thing, which is the logistic conversation, is there any new business? Not seeing any. Let's move on to the final item before adjournment, which is discussion of the logistics for this next meeting. First of all, I'm asking anybody who knows the answer to this question, maybe Kyle, maybe Sharon, or maybe Jane, I don't know who would know this, but what, if anything, do we have to do regarding the commission in order to, now I can, in order to get this meeting going, I can go and ask Olivia or Catherine to give us the meeting, or actually, I actually set up the last one, so I can do that if, assuming the time is free for our Zoom account, and I'm sure it will, not sure, but I assume that it will be. What, if anything, do we need to do about the public? Is the public a part of this, like they are the other meetings? Or is this a work session, or looks like Jane might know. Jane.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was no formality to the way in which we initiated a working session last weekend. It was just our committee deciding that we had to dig into the weeds. And so I used my own personal Zoom account to set up the meeting. Now, I didn't ask permission to do that. Maybe I should have, but Kevin was on our committee, so he didn't tell us we couldn't do it. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that formal a thing, Bob. You know,
Right.
you might want to ask if they would prefer we use the, I don't even know whether we didn't record the session, but obviously took notes, like there's a paper trail, obviously. So there's that. And, you know, if there were ever a public records request for any of that, we do have some trail, you know, so it didn't seem that formal to me, but.
All right. And we have had, our committee has had one subcommittee. We actually formulated a real subcommittee, and we had a session of that on Zoom that we didn't go through all of that either with. Yes, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I asked the question formally through Catherine, Olivia, and Kevin about that.
Oh,
the
good.
extent to whether it needed to be, you know, needed to be open or proposed and on the calendar a week ahead and all of that, and did not actually get a response of any kind. So
Okay.
and to just and on the schedule so far, Saturday from 9:30 to 10:30. If we use the county account, that's spoken for, and on Sunday from 4 to 5. The rest of those days are open.
From 2 o'clock on would be open. From 2, I think you guys said you did not want a 3-hour meeting. You wanted an hour and a half meeting. So that would be 2 to 1:30. I mean 3:30. 2 to 3:30, right?
That's right.
Is everybody good with that? Okay, what we're gonna do then is I'm gonna go in and arrange it. Well, I don't know, Kyle, you've already emailed the folks.
I'm halfway there.
Okay, rather than having the extra step, if they say no, you gotta give it a week in advance or whatever, that's not good. That is not good. We'll have to figure out what to do next. Maybe you just have the meeting next week and then have a work session immediately thereafter, which we would be announcing. Yes, Patty.
We've had work sessions before that were quickly gathered together, and I don't believe that this will have to fall under that. We've already discussed with the public that's here that we wanted to get together and just work on the words and then put it out there afterwards. So I don't think we need to worry about all that.
I think when we had the last one, it did actually appear on our calendar. So, you know, I guess theoretically, other people could have.
You had 2 work sessions?
I think so. All right, let's just say, unless we hear, Kevin, unless you hear otherwise from them, I'm going to go ahead and
Kyle,
set. Did I say Kevin?
Feel better, Jane? Jane feels better now.
Well, was she doing that too?
oh yeah.
I apologize. It's the K thing, and my brain gets that far and stops. You know. So, anyway, Kyle, I will go ahead and get the meeting on the calendar. Okay, and it'll be from 2 to 3:30, and it is a work session for the process committee. I would ask one thing. You've already been asked by, I forget who it was a good idea to look at Liz's document, and everyone has received that, right? Okay.
Yes.
I would ask also for you to look at the first page of my document. I was going to just toss it out, but it does deal with the rights of human beings vis-a-vis other human beings. That's what that first page is. Take a look at that and see what you think of that, or whether any of that is salvageable, whether any of that ought to go into what we're putting down. Yes, Jane.
Yeah, I hear you, Bob. I think though what Bill was suggesting is very important, and that is that we bring to that foundational document that Liz shared, we bring to it language that we feel could be added, and not have us starting to refer to multiple documents. I think that's going to get problematic if we start referring to 3-4 different documents.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that then. I am really my poor Bob, he puts out all these documents and no one wants to even look at them. Let me ask you this, just take a look. Isn't that sad? Just take a look at the page, that front page, and then burn it after you've taken a look at it, okay? But you will at least have some of the ideas will have passed through your brain about that, and we can go from there. I have no, seriously, I'm joking around. I have no thing about having to use that. We don't have to use it at all. Just look at Liz's and bring that with additions and changes. And then what I wrote might be helpful if you're thinking about human to human. Yes, Bill.
I just think we should look back at everything, but
Okay.
use Liz's document as the lattice on which we hang things. Some things will go in, some things will go out. But I think we should just agree that that will be the common document. But we can look all the way back to the beginning, because we're starting to lose good ideas that we started out with.
Okay.
And I'll make sure we use the full inventory.
Okay. What he said. So, yes, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Anyone other than the 6 of us plus Sharon present that we would like to invite? I have the Zoom almost ready to send out to you. I don't know if Sharon wants in, but I have myself and you 6. Does that sound right?
And that is through our account?
It is at this point.
Okay, that's what I used when I set the other meetings up for us. And of course, Olivia knew about it. I asked her to set it up, but before she had a chance to, I set it up myself. So that was okay. All right. Well, then you go ahead and set it up then,
Okay.
Kyle, because it's in your chain. I will be attending. It's at 2 o'clock from 2 to 2:30 on Saturday, unless you hear otherwise. Yes, Patty.
I was going to move that we adjourn.
I hear a second.
No.
All in favor, say aye. Aye, yay. See you Saturday.
No, shit.
What?
Count me in. I'm sorry. I was away. I was doing my cat's nature.
We have not adjourned. Let me go back and
Stop the, remember to stop the recording, please, also.
Can I ask a favor of fellow commissioners on the committee? And that is that, could we have one email, or could you tell me where all these reference documents are? Or could we have somebody send them out again? So we all are, as Bill said, just, if we want to look back at them, I don't know that I have them all. So I don't know. Are you guys saving them in Microsoft Teams or?
the
The
various
stuff that's been
documents.
produced by yourself, by Bill, by Liz, Kyle's produced some stuff. So I don't,
I
yeah.
don't know. The way that I would find them is I go over to the inbox in the mail, and I go down until I saw process committee with an attachment. That's how and then bang, 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 bang.
That doesn't
Okay.
help her.
I don't know how far you have to go, because Liz's document, I think, is the one that people are saying it's got most of the stuff in it that we like.
Okay.
And then
If she's,
if we're going to say anything about human beings, then yes, Kyle.
I think if Jane is not in the address list on those, that she won't necessarily see those. So we should all commit to send what we've created to her, unless someone's gonna summarize and tally them and send them on. And then I wanted to acknowledge Patty had a follow-up for some kind of delete and reattach in the inbox. So we're going to take that offline, or did that get answered, Patty? Emails that you deleted that you wanted to put back in your.
Yes, I was thought, well, I'll ask Liz another time because I really do need to go. But yeah, I have a problem getting things out of my delete file and put them back into the, because I delete things by accident all the time. So I've got stuff in there I'd like to have in my inbox. I don't know how to do it. Is it a quick thing?
Yeah, Patty, let's just call me and we'll
Okay, thank you.
we'll do that. And Patty, I did want to make sure that you did get the email I sent out last night.
I found it. I found it.
Okay, because that has both the
I found it.
rewrite and the original document attached to it. So that's all from me.
Anything else before we adjourn?
It's
Doesn't sound like
non-debatable.
it. And so this meeting is now adjourned. Goodbye, everyone. I'll
Bye.
see you on Saturday. And Jane, I'll try and get some things to you.
Okay, I'll send you guys an email to ask